In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Google Meet for remote teaching. And specifically, I'll be focusing on the updates to Google Meet that have been released this year. So I'll show you how to do things like blur your background for privacy. I'll show you some of the more advanced host controls that are now available in Meet. I'll also teach you how to use the new Google Jamboard Google Meet integration. And we'll also look at some of the other updates like the new layouts that are available. Unfortunately, most Google Meet users still don't have access to some of the more anticipated updates like setting up breakout rooms, Q&As, and polls. Although I'm definitely still waiting for those features, the new updates to Google Meet do make it a lot more functional to use in education. My name is Sam Carey, and this is my YouTube channel for the new EdTech Classroom. If you appreciate the tips that I share in this video, you can show your support by hitting the like button, sharing it with other teachers that you know, and also subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any of my weekly updates. All right, so before we get started, it is important to know that some of the updates that I'm going to show to Google Meet in this video will only be applicable if you have a G Suite for Education account. All right, so let's start here on my Google Meet homepage. And to start the meeting, I'm going to go down to this join button. And here I'll give my meeting a nickname to make sure that it's more secure. The purpose of giving your meeting a nickname is to help prevent students from being able to join a meeting before you've actually initiated it. It is important to know that once you hit this continue button and then move over to this other screen, students will still be able to enter in this nicknamed meeting because you've essentially already started it, even though technically you're not in the meeting yet. Now, before I join the meeting, I just want to show you a few things about the settings here. So one is that if you go up to the three-dot menu and then go down to settings, there you'll have some different choices for audio and video. So a really easy way to improve the quality of your audio would be to plug in an external microphone and then switch over your audio device here. And then on the video, you can also do things like use other cameras. So you could plug in an external webcam like I actually have installed here, or you can even do things like use third-party cameras like Lumi Live to bring in a virtual avatar to your meeting. I do have a whole separate tutorial about how to set up a virtual avatar for video conferences that you might also want to check out. Now, a newer feature of Google Meet is the ability to blur your background. To blur your background, you just want to click on this blur background icon, and there you'll see that it just makes the background a little bit less visible. This is a really easy way to just add a layer of privacy to your meetings so that you don't have to worry as much about what's behind you on your webcam. Now, if you have a G Suite for Education account, you're going to be limited to 100 participants in a Google Meet meeting. One way that you can add additional participants or viewers of your meeting would be to add an in-house stream. So if we go back to the menu here, you'll see that there's an option to enable live streaming. Once you select that option, you'll see that it will populate a link below that you can share with participants that you want to be able to view the live stream. This will allow you to expand the audience of this meeting to up to 100,000 participants, though they'll only be able to view the meeting and won't be able to actively participate in it. On the menu, you'll also see that there's an option to enable captions. Although this isn't a new feature, it is one of the features of Google Meet that helps make virtual conferences more accessible, so it is a good option to have. All right, now to join the meeting, I'm going to go ahead and click this Join Now button. And here, if I haven't already invited students to my meeting, I could copy this invite link and share it with them. And you can also go down here to add people in order to select the specific names of students that you want to allow into this meeting. But if you're using Google Meet with students and you have Google Classroom, what probably makes the most sense is just to make sure that you have the Google Meet meeting enabled on Google Classroom and that you initiate the meeting from there. You'll see after I've joined the meeting that since I enabled streaming, I can go ahead and start the stream by clicking Start Streaming here. And if you don't want to stream, of course, you can just hit Close. All right, now that a student has joined the meeting, let's go up here to the chat feature. With the older version of Google Meet, there wasn't any way for an individual teacher to control whether or not students could use the chat or not. They've since changed that. So here you can choose whether or not you want to enable chat or disable it at any given time. So let's turn the chat feature off here. And then if I hop over here to the student end of the meeting, you'll see that when the student clicks on chat, that they get a message that tells them that the chat feature for this meeting has been disabled. But then if you decide that you want to enable the chat feature later, all you need to do is turn that feature back on. And then if we go back over to the student account again, when they go back to the chat feature, they'll see that they're able to type in a chat response. I do like this ability to just turn on and off the chat because it allows you to get students' attention for a particular period of time and then just open up the chat for short durations in order to get student responses. Another feature Google Meet has added is the ability to have higher level admin control over individual meetings. So if you go back up here and click on People, you'll see that there's now an option to choose Host Controls. Here you'll see that in addition to enabling or disabling the chat feature, you can also enable or disable the ability for students to share their screens. And then to access additional host settings, go down here to View Host Settings. So here there's another option to disable quick access to your meeting. And if you disable quick access, it will ensure that no one's able to join the meeting if you haven't specifically invited them without asking permission first. Disabling this feature will also mean that no one is able to join your meeting anonymously, and it will make it so that only the host of the meeting is able to dial out of the meeting. All right, now that we've looked at some of the new host controls that Google Meet offers, let's take a quick look at the new Google Jamboard Google Meet integration. With this integration, you can now open up a Jamboard directly through Google Meet. So to access that, you'll go down here to the three-dot menu, and then you'll go up to Whiteboard. When you click to open a new Jam, it will give you a choice to either start a new Jamboard or to pull one in from your Google Drive. So I'm going to choose to start a new Jamboard here. And immediately after I do that, you'll see that a box pops up asking me to set the permissions level for that Jamboard for the other attendees in the meeting. Now you'll see that the default setting with an education account is that the other attendees only have view access. This could be okay if you just wanted to model something on Jamboard, but if you wanted students to actually be able to contribute to the Jamboard, you'll need to change it so that they have editing access as well. You'll see that after you choose to set the permission level, it will open up a new Google Jamboard in a separate tab. It is important to note that right now I'm not sharing my screen. So although it opened up Google Jamboard in another tab, my students aren't necessarily going to be able to see it yet. Once you've created that Jamboard, you can interact with it. So you can do different things like add sticky notes here. So I'll go ahead and just add a quick one that says good morning. And I do just want to mention that if you want to know all about how to use Google Jamboard's tools, as well as get some different ideas for how you can use it, you might want to check out the 2 other videos that I have on my channel specifically about how to use Google Jamboard. Now that I've set up that Jamboard, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that students can actually see it. So I'll go down here to Present Now, and then I'm going to choose to just present a Chrome tab. So I'll click on Chrome tab, and then I'll select Jamboard. And once I do that, you'll now see that there's a little blue rectangle on the Chrome tab that indicates that that's the tab I'm sharing with my students. So now let's look at this from the student end. Since I'm sharing my screen with them, students are now able to see Jamboard directly in that Google Meet meeting. And then there's also a link in the chat that they can click on in order to access that same Jamboard that they can interact with. If you direct students to click on the link, it's just going to open up another tab. So what I would suggest you do is also teach them how to split their screen so that they set it up and it looks like this. So what you can see here is that on one side, they would be able to see the screen that's being shared through the Google Meet meeting, as well as the other participants in that meeting. And then they'd have their other tab open with the Jamboard that they can actually write on. So here you can see that the student could add some text. And then once the student adds that, it's going to show up immediately on the collaborative Jamboard for everybody else to see as well. Let's jump back over to the teacher side so that you can see how it looks a little bit differently when you're the one who's actually sharing the screen. So on my end, all I can see is this box that's telling me that I'm presenting to everyone, but I'm not able to actually see Jamboard directly embedded in Google Meet the same way that the student is able to. All right, next I want to show you how you can record a Google Meet meeting. So what you'll do is go back to the three-dot menu and then scroll up to record this meeting. After you click that, it will prompt you to make sure that you've asked consent of everybody in your meeting so that they know that it's being recorded. Once you click accept, it will start recording your meeting and you'll be able to tell that it's recording because it will have this record icon on the top left-hand side of the screen. And then when you're ready to stop recording, you can go back to the three-dot menu and then scroll up to stop recording. After you choose stop recording, you'll see that it will also tell you that that recording is going to show up in your Google Drive. So if you wait for a few minutes and then go over to Drive, you should see a new video file of that meeting show up. Since sometimes students might miss our live synchronous classes that we run through Google Meet, it would be a good idea to post these meetings back to Google Classroom or whatever learning management system you're using so that you make sure that what you taught is accessible even if students aren't able to be there in real time. All right, the last updated feature that I want to show you here is how to change the layout of Google Meet. So if you go back to the three-dot menu and then scroll up to change layout, there you'll see that you have some different options for how your Google Meet meeting would be set up. So a new update is this tiling option. Tiling is your best layout choice to be able to see all the students in your class at the same time and would be the best option if you're going to do some sort of whole group activity. With tiling, you're able to see up to 49 people at the same time. Now, one thing that is important to know is that even though you might change the layout on your side, that does not apply to the student end as well. So if a student wants to change the way that their layout looks, they'll need to do that on their own on their side of the meeting. So let's say, for example, that I'm sharing my screen here to show this Google Slides presentation to my students. I could change the layout to Spotlight so that it only shows what I'm sharing on the screen and not the videos of other participants. However, if we go back over to the student screen, you'll see that their layout hasn't been changed. So if you wanted students to see the view with only the shared screen and not the other participants, you would have to prompt them to do that themselves. This isn't that big of a deal, but it's definitely something that's worth pointing out to students. When sharing your screen, I personally like using this sidebar view where students can see the screen you're sharing, as well as smaller images of other participants in the meeting. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm still waiting for some of the features to be more universally available, like breakout rooms and the ability to add questions and polls. And once those features are more available for users with education accounts, I'll definitely make a tutorial about them as well. Thank you so much for watching my video to the end. If you found the tips that I shared helpful, please share it with other teachers that you know, hit the like button, and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any of my weekly updates. You can also check out some of the other tutorials I have on my channel by clicking on one of those two videos above. And if you're interested in downloading any of the resources that I've created and show on my videos, please visit my website at www.newedtechclassroom.com. Lastly, if you want to check me out on social media, my Twitter handle, Facebook page, and Pinterest account are all in the description below. Thanks so much and have a great week.